Are we live? You are live. Hello, good evening, everyone. Hi, I am Raul Syed here. Coming from several streams, Survive and Thrive, my own page, and my personal Facebook, and as well as our YouTube page. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great Friday evening. Amidst this circuit breaker, this MCO, this shutdown, lockdown, whatever you want to call it, for all of us. By now, most of us should have already kind of gotten used to staying indoors. And although as much as it is painful, like staying indoors all the time and can't wait to go out, it is still necessary because there are still traces of the virus spreading in the community. Although how small or big it is within the community at large or within the foreign worker dorm in Singapore, it's still a number that can only take one to spread like crazy, right? Because at the end of the day, COVID-19 starts from just one infection, if I'm not mistaken, before it widely spread all around the world. Okay, so just a bit of a small chatter before I begin the evening with the topic for this evening. For some people who were wondering, hey, how exactly did Americans in the US, they were able to acquire so many properties in their portfolio? There are several strategies to this. I'm going to just cover one of them. Okay, so and this is a strategy that's not exactly very common here in Asia, in Singapore in particular. Perhaps in Malaysia, I've heard of there were people that came to my event and they say that they have 30 properties, 20 properties. There's a lot of them who have that. However, some of them after the event, they say, can I talk to you for a while, for a couple of minutes? And then I meet them at the site, and then some of them start telling me, and then some even they start crying about how the properties they bought, this is just draining the cash flow, and they're in the midst of being foreclosed by the bank. It's a lot of stuff, and I kind of pity them, right? Because I think probably they bought at a height when the bull run was happening. I think when property market was kind of just growing. Buy any property, you just go up, and then somehow there's no. They over leverage on the loan. They couldn't pay for the bank loan eventually because the rent doesn't cover the loan. So things like that cause a bit of a strain for them financially. So eventually they got a bit greedy and some of them lost their property. So these were some of the happenings that I saw. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a bit. These were some of the things that I noticed when I speak to people who came to my event. Well, you buy without education, without being rightly educated. So if you want to buy right, you have to learn how it's done, okay? And so I'm just going to cover a bit about how this is done in the US in a safe and defensive, secure manner, okay? So let's, without further ado, we can begin. It's almost 3 minutes since I start. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. Okay. Sorry, that was a bummer. Okay, so the BRRRR strategy to acquire hundreds of property. Let me just make this window a bit smaller. Okay, and ta-da. All right. Right, okay, there you are. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So before I actually go into the the BRRRR strategy, BRRRR, or however you want to call it, let's take a look at the news that's happening. And I like to actually dig up as much as possible to keep up with what's going on. And for some of you who probably has not been reading the news, you want to avoid all the negativity. So this is where I'm going to just share with you the negativity. Okay, not intentionally, but just to keep you updated on what's happening. And today in history, and this is something that many might have overlooked, but today in history is Victory in Europe Day. Do you know what's that? It was the day that the war in Europe, World War II in Europe, ended on 8th of May 1945. 1 week prior, Hitler shot himself in the head, right? Okay, and then it took about 7-8 days before the Nazis, the Axis powers, eventually they surrendered. All right, and this was VE Day. Today is VE Day, so in the US it will be like in a couple of hours, 8th of May. Okay, so eventually they surrendered, and it marked the end of the war in Europe. However, the war in Asia was still going on because Singapore and a large part of Asia, Southeast Asia especially, were occupied by Japan. And it only ended when? Do you know when it ended in Japan? Victory over Japan? Anybody knows? If you know, just drop a message. If you tell me where you're from, don't tell me you're from Japan. I will freak out for a while, okay? All right. So if you know when it ended, just let me know. Some of you might know. Okay, give you the answer. August 9, Singapore National Day. Singapore National Day was victory over in Japan. Okay, that was in about 3 months later, in fact. 3 months later, after victory in Europe, then victory in Japan. Then finally over. No more World War II. World War II is done by then. Okay, millions of people died. Right? Millions of people died during that time. And I am thankful. Why I'm showing this? Because I'm thankful to be in a pandemic rather than in a war. Okay, in a war, probably they will call me to go and fight because I'm still able-bodied, right? Okay, and I'm not looking forward to fight in a war. But in a pandemic, we are a bit soft, so they tell us stay home. So I think I can do that, stay home. Okay, but of course, if they call me to defend my country, I'm more than happy to stand up for my country. Okay, not trying to blow, but that's what I feel. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a bit about some of the news that happened yesterday and past few days and today. India is one country. Right now, they want to capitalize on the politics that's happening within US and China. And they are trying to lure 1,000 over companies out of China to move into India. And not just India, I think I covered this in my previous life. The US wants to aggressively bring back manufacturing to their homeland. But they know that not all manufacturing can come back. But the main thing they want to do is to move away from China. They want to do that. Okay, and they want to move away from China. It's not just the US. In fact, Europe, Japan, they also wanted to move away from China. The pandemic has exposed that relying on China during a global pandemic like this is actually a national security matter, right? There were even reports whereby China was intentionally not wanting to export stuff. Okay, they were taking things in so that they can contain the pandemic within themselves and have supplies on their own. So that's actually national security. So that's not something that a country should be subjected to, any other countries, right? So this globalization is going to be a little bit reversed. So India wants to lure away US companies from China. And at the same time, there's also a spillover effect. Some of the countries that can stand to benefit will be Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia. These three countries especially stand to benefit from the US moving aggressively away from China. Okay, they would move into a bit low of the lower cost countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, Indonesia, and India in this case. Okay, so this is an example. If you can read, I've read up on it, and there's a lot of industries that they want to move out of. Okay, and if you look, is there someone who's take something? Oh, hello. Okay. Next one, in China, okay, 80 million Chinese may already be out of work, and it is happening already. This was today, okay, May 8, by CNN. Okay, at the end of the day, take every news that's reported by mainstream media with a pinch of salt. Dig deeper. It's just something wise to do. Okay, so try and read deeper. I've not gone deeper into this yet, but data from China, from what I've heard, is always painted somehow in a good light because the media is controlled by the state. Okay, when the media is controlled, it's not independent of the state. The media is controlled by the state. They would want to portray they should ensure that the world see them in a better light. Okay, so sometimes the GDP out of the country might be dubious, right? You don't know whether it's real GDP or if it's just GDP that's just inflating the numbers to tell the world, hey, we are still growing. It's still a great thing to be working here in China. Okay, so things like this cause a bit of uncertainty. All right. However, 80 million Chinese is already out of work, so that's already something heavy. It's not just China, around the world. In fact, Singapore is also facing a lot of major unemployment. So why am I showing you a lot of unemployment? Okay, Singapore, a sharp drop because of COVID-19 as well. Okay, employment plunges, the sharpest drop since SARS. Okay, this is in Singapore. You can read about it. Malaysia, this was just in today. Okay, Malaysia as well, unemployment at highest in a decade. There's a lot of people who has been laid off, and more is expected to be laid off, and this is going to cost the country very, very much. Okay, and however, hopefully, okay, our neighbor up north would be able to recover from the pandemic, okay, from unemployment if they play the cards right, while by allowing companies from China to move into Malaysia. I feel they should incentivize these big US companies. Okay. Then Singapore, sorry, got distracted. This was the recent one. This was just in yesterday. Record 20.5 million Americans lost a job. Is 5 times bigger than the population of Singapore. My goodness, it's crazy. Unemployment rate source. Now, in fact, if you read the data deeper, right, it is actually a lot more than 20.5 because the numbers before April was not factored in, and the numbers expected to be that is already laid off, it has not been reported, is also not factored into 20.5. So the number is a lot more than that. Some estimates at 55 million Americans. That is almost 1/6 of the country. There's what 320 million, 55, I don't know, whatever. Okay, 1/6 of the country is a lot of people, right? That has been out of a job. And when they are out of a job, as I said before in my previous video, there's a reason why the number has soared so much. One, COVID-19 forced everyone to go into shelter. Okay. Two, because of the incentive to be laid off. And I've read so many news online, okay, whereby the companies have taken a loan from the government to retain their workers, but their workers are going on strike. They are unhappy with the employer. They're really so angry. They don't wish to work. They are forcing the employer, please lay us off. I don't want your salary. I want the money that I can get from being unemployed and not working and just staying at home and being safe. Okay, and they want that. They prefer that. They want to be unemployed. So this is causing an unintended consequence in the US. And I had a good chat with a mentor of mine, business mentor, my old boss, in fact, okay, about this precarious situation in the US whereby people unemployed. Is it good? The number of whereby they're just relying on unemployment benefits insurance by getting money, about $4,000 to $5,000 a month just by being unemployed US. Okay, and is it good for the country or is it bad? Well, in fact, I feel it is right now too much of a good thing is actually a bad thing. And I think the US is going to be headed for major contraction, and it's really the greatest depression ever in America that's happening now. Okay, and I've covered this many times in my past videos. The US is headed for that. It's going to be a lot of chaos. Those who are educated well will stand to benefit from this chaos. You play your cards right. You know exactly what you need to do. Okay, you know when to buy. Look at fundamentals. Don't be too don't get too sucked in to the negativity. Don't say you are all delusional, crazy. The US is going to hell. No, don't do that. All right, stay calm and look at the data. Amidst the chaos, people will make money. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity you should look at. Okay, all right. So Americans, a lot of them are unemployed for a reason. Now back to the topic that I was saying just now, whereby it's too much of a good thing, a bad thing. It is too much money given for free is too much. It's crazy. I don't need $5,000 to sustain myself. Even in the US, as basic, I only need less than $2,000. Even $1,500 USD for me and somebody else can suffice. Okay, maybe minus the rent. Maybe rent is separate, right? But I don't need so much. If I'm staying indoors, not going out, I just need to buy food delivered home, right? Cook at home or something. Okay, maybe $2,000 or less for a family of two, just you and your husband, or maybe kids, maybe about 3,000-4,000. I don't need 4,000-5,000 a month for 9 months. That's too much of a good thing, and I feel that this is going to cause a lot of pain down the road in America. And if the government reduce that unemployment benefit, okay, and instead rely on this thing called UBI, okay, Universal Basic Income, meaning that every citizen will be entitled to get a small stipend to retain, to manage their life, just to live, to get by. There were studies that spoke about this, and I hope Singapore employ that model. Honestly, okay, people always feel, capitalists especially, right, always feel that giving free money to the population is bad. But I'll say this is a big but, okay? But there were a lot of studies that has been done whereby money given just to sustain your basic necessities, I'm just saying basic, is actually a good thing. It will even spur a lot of entrepreneurship and innovation. they never realize that. Why? Because people are more willing to take risks into jumping into an entrepreneurship, into jumping into something more with more risk, because they know their family is taken care of. And I hope honestly, this is something that I'm wondering whether any politician in Singapore or anyone has the political will to do so, right, will be able to, hey, tell someone your basic can be sustained. Don't worry, take that risk. We will look after. I would be more willing to jump into something riskier, okay, that can somehow fathom into something that with higher rewards, higher returns, right? Entrepreneurship especially. And they did that study whereby entrepreneurship actually flourish when they give universal basic income to someone who took on the entrepreneurship role, okay, because he's more willing to take on the risk, knowing his family is taken care of. Majority of human beings are good people. There will be a small percentage of people who would abuse the system and not want to work at all. This is unfortunate. That will happen. Okay, there's already been there people buy drugs, alcohol, and they abuse themselves. Okay, but majority of people, most human beings are good people, and they would use the money for good, and they want to grow themselves. People, and human beings, at the end of the day, they aspire for better things, a better life, and some of them aspire to be greedy. They'll be greedy to want more stuff, right? Okay, so this is a bit sidetrack. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about these unemployment benefits. Hopefully, the majority of Americans who took all this money for themselves, okay, I hope they keep all of this in savings and use it to spur spending in the US, spending in the country, and restart the country down the road. I hope that's what they will do, okay? And this is because the US government is eventually going to be forcing the inflation rate down, so people don't want to spend the money by putting money in the bank. They will hopefully use it to buy something, they consume stuff, because one man's spending is another man's income. Okay, that's what I learned. Right, and this is the other stuff that I want to cover. Spells the end for big cities again, and I've already mentioned this before in my previous videos. This is just today. Okay, big cities are already facing they're losing residents. Okay, high density living is moving. It is no longer the in thing. People want to move away to the suburbs. When people move away to the suburbs, okay, in less densities, they don't have to worry about being contracted with another pandemic down the road. And this is where we've been investing. I've never bought anything in the city. So all of the properties that we bought are always in the suburbs, and we want to buy more in the suburbs as we move along, okay? Suburbs are where we want to go to, all right? And this is the reason why. And people, it's a psychology. They have a psychological change, as well as offices are going virtual because workers are being laid off. So they rather work in a suburb and work at home. Although there's so much work from home you can do, sometimes you can go crazy with your kids running around. Trying to work from home is a bit mad. And even the bars and the restaurants are moving to the suburbs, more of them moving to the suburbs. Okay. All right, millennials are less willing to gamble on real estate. This is in America. Okay, I'm looking at the trends. Always follow the trend that's happening. Okay, decades-long exodus from cities. They are moving away, guys. They are moving away. I've read this entire article already. Okay. All right. So now, I want to show you a bit of data in the US. Housing markets in most big cities struggle. Okay, but there are, as I said, real estate is local, guys. Real estate in America is local. Do not look at a country data and then say, no, bad. Doesn't work that way. You have to go local into the city itself. Okay, and if you go local into the city itself, you will notice, all right, these 4 cities, they are bucking the trend because real estate agents, the realtors in those cities, they fight for the right to declare their job role as essential. Okay, their job role is essential, so they can go out to work. Okay, so that's a bit weird. In Singapore, you try go and fight your government, ask for real estate agent to be declared essential. I think you get thrown somewhere else. But in US, you can do so. You can fight here, fight there, sue here, sue there, right? Okay, if you look at this, listings and new inventory. The number of listings, if the graph falls to the left, means it's negative, it's getting lesser. Okay, if the graph falls to the right, it's gaining. Okay, so as you can see, there are some cities that's very bad. It's facing large number of inventory, losing large number of inventories. Okay, and there are some cities that's quite not too bad. All right, for us, we are very heavy in Jacksonville, Florida, not too bad. Okay, less than 2.55%. It's a bit of a decline. All right. Then Seattle is quite bad. Okay, but there are other cities as well, not too bad. Okay, so places that's very bad. Buffalo, New York. Okay, New York is one of the worst hit, right? Because the governor forced everyone to stay indoors. Okay, so as you can see here, you can go ahead and read. I'm not going to read this to you. You can see here there's a lot of there's still some data, still some real estate changing hands. Okay, and last news I want to share with everybody is this. Coronavirus found in men semen. So they are even, okay, this is just a bit of laughter for you. You can go and read up on this in CNN. They found semen in coronavirus in men semen. So there could be a chance that it can be sexually transmitted, although there's no evidence yet. So if you are having that virus in you, okay, please don't think about doing something else that you should not do. Stay away, okay? All right, abstinence is the thing that you should do. I'm not going to say anything else. Okay, so they found it in Mancement even after the guy died, if I'm not mistaken, or even persist in Mancement even after they have begun to recover. So wow, it's insane. Okay, all right. So that's about what I have for the news. I think I went a bit too long on the news today. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the history. The rest of the thing I want to mention today, the topic for today. So this was the last event, the last live I did. I was mentioning about local rates, how it works. You put 25% down payment, you and a partner or just yourself. You take the rest as a bank loan. Okay, and then hopefully you can buy a 20% discount. The yellow one is discount. Okay, and this differs across cities, down payment, loan to value, appreciation, okay, and price roughly about 200,000 USD, right? In the US, you can even use a business entity. US, as I mentioned, you can use yourself, set up a company, okay, and then maybe another partner also set up a company, and both of you, your companies will set up a LLC, which is a pass-through LLC, and the LLC will buy the property, okay, and you pay not down payment, and the rest of it becomes equity because you're able to buy it at a cheap and steep discount. This is the US strategy that I've explained. Okay, and the loans are contingent to where you want to buy and how you buy it. Okay, you can use a bank loan. Okay, we've not gotten any loans for our clients yet because we want to ensure. Thank goodness we didn't use any loan for our properties because there's no bank breathing down our neck say, hey, I want to foreclose on you. No, it doesn't happen because all our properties are debt free. Okay. And that's something very, very safe. So I want to talk about is this one, cash out refinance plan, the BRRRR format. Okay, so let's talk about the BRRRR format. How does it work in America? BRRRR format, step one, the B stands for buy. Okay, buy. Okay, example, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,300 square feet house. Where I'm not sure. I just the numbers here are just it's not representative. It's something I'm just putting here as an example to explain how BRRRR works. So there's a house that you buy. Let's say it's $250,000, $192 per square foot, example, okay? And there's two of you. So BRRRR format, best that you're doing it by yourself alone, okay? Or maybe you and a partner, okay? Maximum, don't have too many people. And both of you set up one LLC together, okay? This is one. And you buy the property. Now this is step one, right? You buy the property, the purchase price will be $62,500. Where to find? You have to find. In a crash that's happening now, okay, it's possible, even more possible, even more so right now, you can buy properties really cheap because people get more desperate. When people get more desperate, buy from them. Not taking advantage of them, okay, help them, look from that angle, help them, buy from them, okay? And that's the cash payment. The 75% is what you gain on equity. On paper, it's equity gain, okay? So in this case, about $187,500 for this 250K house. All right, so this is equity that's given to you on paper that you gain the moment you buy. You make money on the buy. Okay, this is how it works. All right, and the value. How do you get 250K as a value? Because with research, deep research that you have done, you know, looking at the transactions in the area, what's happening, and you're able to establish 250K. It's not just you, your agent and whoever else that you consult have also established 250K as the value of the property that you're buying. Okay, you're not making things up. Okay, we don't want to just invent numbers out of thin air. Okay, so none. Step two is rehab. Step two is rehab. Means what? Means renovation works. We start the reno. So we start the reno. Okay, let's say it's about $45,500. $35 per square foot. Say $35 multiply by 1,300 square feet, you get $45,500. Okay, pointer. Yeah. There you are. Okay. You see this? Okay. 1,300 square feet multiplied by $35 per square feet, which is quite a big sum of money for rehab works. $45,500. Okay. This is considered advanced level rehab. Okay. So that's about 18% of the property value, okay, that you are spending on for the rehab works. All right. So next. Okay. Why are you spending so much money? Because you have established, okay, and found out that a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom house, or 4-bedroom, 2-bed, or 4-bedroom, 3-bed, either one doesn't matter. This is just an example to explain. Sell for $250 per square foot, 30% more. Okay, so this explains why you are spending more on rehab costs. This is why. Okay, your data is showing that to you. People want to move there; they have bigger families. So if you have a 4-bedroom house and the house that you want to buy can fit and re-alter or add an addition to be altered into a 4-bedroom house, do it. We have a property, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, we convert into a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It's possible. It can be done. Okay, so you raise the value by adding an additional bedroom in this case. So you raise the value up because it has to be compared with other 4 bedrooms. It becomes 250 per square foot. In this case, you just gain and make money on additional money on equity, which is a gain of 30%. Now, this graph is not according to scale. I apologize. Okay, it's 30%. It's almost the same size as the 25%. I'm so sorry. It should be a bit higher. Okay, but I'm running out of space. You can see, right? Running out of space. So what you have done is to force appreciate the value from 250K to 325K. This is what has happened. Okay. Of course, I'm simplifying. There's a lot more steps in the entire process. I have to oversimplify. I can't say everything in detail. It takes a year process. It's too much work, right? Okay. And I will explain that in a short while. So this is to explain to you the theory first. So you force appreciate your property value up to 325K. Okay. You see here, property value has gone up. Okay. And step 3. Okay. Before I go into that, look at this. Purchase a rehab that you spend is about $108,000. That's what you have spent on the total. Okay. The total you have spent on so far, purchase price $62,500 plus $45,500 is $108,000. And that $45,500 that you spend has forced appreciate the value to 325K. Okay. Step 3, rent. You got to rent out the house. House is at $325,000, 4-bedroom. Okay. I should change this. I apologize. It should be a 4-bedroom now. Okay. So that's 100% of the value now. From 100% at earlier below, now it has raised up, and now this entire thing becomes 100%. So you force appreciate the value, right? Okay. So rental, let's say I'm putting about $3,000 a month. Usually take about 2,008 or 3,000. That's usually the case. Okay. But about 1% of property value, but it depends on area. So you got to see where you are renting the property from. You have a message, is it? My voice, is it? Am I losing my voice? Okay. All right. So step 3, rent. So you need to rent out the property, and you have to season the property for rental for about 6 months at least. Okay. All right. So step 3, after you rent out the property, next step. Step 4, this is the magic. Okay, it's refinance. Now, refinance is the key here that you need to do to ensure that you are able to pull out your cash. And that's how it works here. So you refinance the property, especially now. Why are we looking at this now? In the US, it's a bit difficult to get loan for foreigners. Okay, it's a bit more difficult now because of coronavirus. So you got to wait it out for a while until the Federal Reserve will probably pump more stimulus, and they have more money that they can lend to people. So foreigners will be able to then buy. So it's somewhere around June, July. That's a good time for you to rent. And interest rate will be at a historical low. When the interest rate is historical low, that's when you should refinance. Take out the money, right, guys. Take out the money from the equity, because the equity that's remaining earlier, if you look at the entire equity, it was dead equity. So you have to take out equity, take out the money and put it into work. That's what you should do. Okay, so refinance, I did a bit of calculation, just 6% interest rate, which is actually very high. In fact, it can go to 3.5 or even lower. So some got it for 2.8, 2.9, okay, half. So it can be even lower than that. The idea is to pull out the equity, cash, and reinvest it. Okay, so refinance in this case, 6%, 75% loan to value, $1,461 per month repayment to the bank. Why is this important to know? Okay, all right, for 30 years. Because it is important that the rent is actually 50% or less of your rental. Okay, do not make sure it doesn't cross the 50% threshold. Ask yourself now, your rental in Singapore, your rental in Malaysia, okay, if you have properties there, is it almost 80-90% of the amount that you're paying the loan? Usually it is. Sometimes it's more, right? Sometimes it's less. Your loan repayment is more. So in the US, for those who do BRRRR strategy, they will always ensure that the rent does not cross more than 50%. Sometimes it does, especially in very expensive cities. So you got to find the right area. It's key here to find place. Okay. So when you're able to control, is to make sure that the rent is, the repayment to the bank for the refinance is 50% or less of the rental income. because the other 50% of the rental income is supposed to go into a rental management fund or to be your cash flow, your monthly cash flow. All right, it's important. This is what you do. So 75% of 325K is 243,000. What do you spend on earlier in total? 108,000. Now you get 243,000 in cash for the bank to approve the loan to you. Sometimes they ask you, what do you want to do with the money? Okay. Now you will always have to tell them the by right or the by the book answer. Give them the textbook answer. Yo, I want to use the money to buy more properties. That's what you should tell them. Otherwise, you say, no, I just want to bring the money and go casino. They might not want to approve. Okay. Sometimes it's because of that they won't approve. So you want to give them an answer that they want to hear. So which is something that I want to advise you to do as well. Take the money, reinvest into something else. Okay, at 243,000, you can buy 3 other properties one time. Okay, including the rehab, or maybe 2 other properties including the rehab. Better quality properties now, and by that time, okay, repeat, right? Okay, do the whole thing again. So this is the BRRRR format. Our example, very first BRRRR format was our CEO Ice. Okay, she had 4 properties at one time. She bought the property for 7,000. The property was $65,000 in value, right? 7,000. She hold it for about a year, and then she refinanced every property for $25,000 each. Okay. At the point that if you hear her story, she has some story in her past struggles. So she need the money to be brought back to Singapore, which she did. She brought back that money to Singapore and then start the business and then start repaying people back at the point in time. Okay. So this is something, if you want, you can always reach out to her. She's always more than happy to share her story. Okay. So that was what we did as a foreigner, okay, in the US, because the property was cash flowing very well. You can imagine paying 7,000 plus an additional 3,000, 12,000 in total, but you can cash out double. In cash, you get double of what you got in cash. Not too bad, right? Okay, per property. So it wasn't too bad. Okay, so purchase area, you can start again. Repeat the buying process and all that. So this is what you do for BRRRR format. Okay, so there are tips and best practice. Before I go into this, is there any question? If you have a question, please drop your question in the okay, if there's no question, I think people are not too bad. You quite understand. Okay, there are some tips. Okay, for BRRRR purchase is the first one. Your property value at least $150,000 and above. That's the value that you should target. That's the value, not what you pay for, guys. Okay, doesn't mean you're paying 150K and take a loan of 70% or no. That's not what I'm asking you to do here. Make sure you buy the property value at 150K. Okay, that's important. All right, so that you can cash out with enough equity and buffer inside. Second, okay, you must have rental seasoning. Not many lenders want to lend you when you haven't proven yourself with the tenant that you have. So put it for at least 6 months. You get a seasoning for more than 6 months, then you can probably cash out the property. Okay, cash reserve. In a situation like COVID-19 right now, right? Okay, a lot of people, they end up, the landlord discovered that a lot of the tenants asking for forbearance, unable to pay the rent. So if you don't have the tenant, don't pay the rent for 2-3 months, it's still okay because you have 6 months reserve. Okay, depends on some of you whether you want to be very compassionate to the situation or you want to be very hard on them, evict them. But I don't think you can evict them at this point in time because of COVID-19. So they have the law doesn't allow you to do so. So you have to make sure that you have a reserve for at least 6 months per property. Okay, so whatever income that you get, go into a reserve, put into a reserve until it be for 6 months. Okay, use the income to build that reserve. Okay, then account for vacancies. You must ensure that whatever projection that you have, account for at least 1 month vacancy minimum, which is 8% of the value. Minimum 1 month vacancy must be projected to calculate your returns. Okay, and then this is something that will make it easier for BRRRR for foreigners. The one thing that will make it easy for you to get the loan is if you have a US tax ID. Trust me, it will help you very much if you have a US tax ID, meaning the bank knows that you are serious in America, you have a US ID, you pay taxes to the US government, and you can see your income. And when this happens, okay, you will be able to refinance a lot easier at a lower rate. Okay, to get a US ITIN, you must be in the US for a year. Okay, and then apply for an ITIN with a tax return. You got to file for it. There's a way to do so. If you are interested to find out how, you got to reach out to us directly to get a US ITIN. Okay. Now, you either rent out to high quality tenants, depends on your area, or sometimes this is a bit controversial. Some people say yes, some people say no, but I am in favor of it. Section 8, which means lower income group, whereby the rents are not paid by them, but paid by the government. When it's paid by the government, you have more assurance the money is going to come in every month. So the thing is, during this COVID-19 pandemic, Section 8 renters, landlords, they are receiving their income every month with no issue because the government is paying for it. Okay, so the guy can stay there for free because they're low income. So they're not exactly adversely affected. Sometimes they are slightly affected, they might be affected, but Section 8 tenants are having their rents paid by the government. Okay, so this is a plus point, especially during this pandemic. Okay, you need to find a good property manager, someone who is there, can send a handyman if something happened to your property. Okay, a handyman can go down, a roofer can go up to go to the property and do whatever work is required. So you must have a good property manager. And if you want to be able to ensure that you have the ability to refinance the property, every time you want to refinance, you have prepared the bookkeeping, the income and expenses are thoroughly and clearly detailed and explained, okay, that you are able to submit for refinance to the lender easily. Just pull out the data, submit. The lender will see, wow, okay, wow, this landlord is very, very well kept. Okay, there is more confidence to lend money to you, okay, to refinance and give you the money because you keep good bookkeeping practices. If you're not sure how it's done, talk to us. Okay, I want to turn the camera. We have accountant here who can help you do all this bookkeeping very, very well. Okay, you must keep good bookkeeping practices. Okay, and right now rates are at historical low. 30 years, which is you must always get lower rate. Okay, always get 30 years fixed. And at the same time, there's no prepayment penalty. I'm sorry, I forgot to add that in. No prepayment penalty, meaning if the first year, especially for foreigners, if this is your first time, you refinance out the property, you will be subjected to a higher interest rate. Okay, sometimes bite the bullet first and take it. All right, for 1 year or 2 years, bite the bullet, take it. At least if you have 1 to 2 years seasoning, all right, you maintain all these things that I mentioned here. After that, you refinance to a lower rate. Hopefully, the rate is lower at that point in time. Okay, if it's higher, don't bother. Okay, lower, refinance it. Okay, so that your new lender will buy out the previous lender, okay, and now you have a new loan at a lower rate, and means lower rate loans means that you can keep more in cash flow. Okay, you keep more in cash flow and leverage up. Every time after you buy the property, okay, you refinance. When you want to buy the second property, you will always look at a better quality one. Okay, don't move down, move upwards. Okay, this is what you should do. Move upwards into a better quality area, better quality property. That's something that you should do. But sometimes, okay, guys, I understand funds might be limited, and when funds are limited, you will always start small. It's perfectly okay. Start smaller, it's fine. Sometimes you can start at 75,000 or even less, just to kickstart the process, right? Okay. Eventually, what we can do is to assist you to move up. Okay, it takes time. Real estate is a get rich slow process of making money, and this is one way. There are many ways for you to acquire many properties. So as you can refinance every property, you can put this as a down payment instead into an apartment complex. An apartment complex of 16 units, 32 units. Now you have an apartment complex that you're owning, and then after that, refinance that and buy into a bigger apartment complex. This is what you can do. Okay, all right. So I am almost at the end of my live video. So I will be running a webinar on Sunday. Okay. Okay, I will be running a webinar on Sunday, and the link is right down there, webinar.noblesky.co. If you see any error in the page, please let us know. And at 10 a.m. on Sunday. What's the date? I forgot. Okay, never mind. 10. Okay, Mother's Day. Oh, yeah, Mother's Day. So before you bring your mothers for lunch, okay, I'm running a webinar at that point. So webinar.noblesky.co, I will explain exactly how you can work with us to start investing in the US. And we have a lot of different methods on how you can get your feet wet in the US with certain ways that we have established. And I am having a couple of new product lines that I until now I haven't even mentioned to my team. I'm keeping it with myself. Okay, I only mentioned to a few people. All right. And I haven't mentioned to everyone yet. There's a couple of product lines that we want to establish. It's very exciting. So and during this webinar, I'm going to explain that. I'm going to announce it to everyone later. Okay. So I hope you will be able to register at the webinar. This one. Okay. webinar.nobosky.co, 10 May. All right, 10 a.m. and Singapore time. So join us for the webinar. I will explain how this is done. Okay, and you will be more than more than more than free to join us and ask any questions that you might have. Okay, so if there's any other further question by anybody, there's no other further question, I will end the particular live because it's almost 40 minutes. It's supposed to be half an hour. How to get a US tax ID? No, not Cardone Capital. Cardone Capital, John Chong, right? Bro, hello. John Chong has a question. Cardone Capital, no. Cardone Capital is a fund. We are not a fund. Okay, and this is something that I want to stay away from. Fund means there's a lot more compliance. Actually, fund means more money for the fund manager. Okay, if I'm the fund manager, more money for me, but I don't intend to do so. Okay, I intend to target the regular investor who wants to aspire to own a property on his own. Not everybody wants to be part of a fund own a big property that they own a percentage of. I discovered this the hard way over the last few years. Sometimes some people want to be able to have their own property that they can call their own. Okay, and it's an aspiration. You see, even then maybe they want to JV with 2 or 3 other people. Okay, so this is something that we want to establish. We want to allow people to do so. Okay, to be able to acquire property in the US that they can call their own and maintain control over the property. It's something that we want to fulfill for a lot of investors. Farhan asking how to get a US tax ID. You need to be able to first start your business in the US first. Start a business in America, have a reason why you need to file taxes in the US. And one of it is because you have a business, you have real estate. So that's one reason how you can acquire US tax ID. The moment you have US tax ID, you'll be able to access US credit. And the moment you access US credit card, you don't want to look at Singapore credit card. It doesn't matter whether you're bankrupt, you are near hundreds of banks debt in Singapore or Malaysia. In the US, you're like a newborn baby who just started. They won't even look back home. Okay, there's a technique and steps to it. So we want to assist a lot of investors to do so. Okay, so before I end, I have a couple of things I just want to say. Unemployment, this is just what I'm saying. Unemployment leads to less spending by the population. Less spending leads to lower tax receipt the government can collect from the population. Lower tax receipt leads to a deflationary environment, means prices gets lower. Okay, and usually sometimes they don't go in tandem, but generally prices get lower. Okay, sometimes property price might go up, but price of food and services will go down. Well, sometimes it go down together, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, then when it's a deflation, the government will enter and spend more stimulus, meaning more government spending, meaning the government will have to borrow more money, right? When they have to borrow more money, they will have to increase taxes. When they have to increase tax, okay, means the people that are being taxed will have lesser money to spend. So it's another ending cycle. So it is unfortunate that a lot of countries all around the world might be facing this, even Singapore. The money that we spend on our stimulus measure in Singapore might be funded by our reserve, but I'm sure the government is going to recollect it from somewhere else. Okay, it will happen eventually. All right. So other than that, if there's no other further question, okay, I would like a private chat. Who's private chat? Okay. All right. So other than that, I have no other further thing to share with you. I'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday at my webinar, and Monday we'll have another live event like this on Monday, and I will show you where the different sources where we find property in the US. Okay. All right. I have nothing else further. All right. And I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe, stay indoors, and reach out to us if any further question. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Stay safe. Good night, everyone. Bye bye.